The man was sitting at his desk working intently when he saw something move out of the corner of his eye. He was home alone, but he was very tired that evening. Taking the vision as a signal to his overloaded brain that it was time to rest, the man went to bed. A few days later, the situation happened again, but this time the man couldn't find any solace in being severely fatigued. Eventually, the visions happened regularly. The constant peripheral jump started to severely disturb him. He visited an eye doctor and a number of other specialists, but they didn't find anything wrong with him. The situation changed drastically when the rapid movements at the edge of his field of vision were replaced by hallucinations. The man saw a long-tailed monster with many thin legs. Being an ordinary, sane person, he could only come up with one explanation: he had lost his mind. The man voluntarily went to a psychiatric facility which he never left. The doctors confirmed that no one else could see the monster, and how could it be otherwise? Unless, of course, the monster was from Raid Shadow Legends and was on a tablet or on a phone, because this is the first console-quality game for a smartphone or PC. Raid has over 500 champions and hundreds of artifacts to equip. There are millions of combinations to create your own team, building heroes, learning tactics, completing dungeons and campaigns, and fighting PvP battles. It's not that easy, which makes things more interesting. Download Raid using my QR code or in the link in the description. Yes, I've played a little too, and here's what I learned. Elaine has 2 super strong AoE attacks, and both regenerate quickly. With the elf, you'll be able to farm the spider's den before the other champions. And when it comes to support, Duchess Lilitu is pretty good. She revives allies to almost full health and makes them invisible. As the level increases, the effect will persist during attack, and the fastest way to upgrade champions is to farm a campaign. For the game's 2-year anniversary, 12 new Shadowkin champions and a Doom Tower rotation with 2 bosses were created. The first ever clan vs. clan tournament was also launched. Join Raid now and get silver, rubies, ancient shards, and a fierce barbarian, Jotun. Click on the link in the description and collect your rewards for the next 30 days. Basically, the man never found out that he wasn't crazy. Unfortunately, by the time Foundation agents discovered Object SCP-372, the victim's mind had suffered too much damage. For some unknown reason, this unlucky man was plagued by the peripheral jumper, which is very strange because the creature usually prefers to hide out of sight and doesn't come into contact with people. Hi, I'm Detective Void. Today's episode of my vlog is dedicated to a mysterious and ambiguous creature, SCP-372. It's known as the Peripheral Jumper, and there's clearly something wrong with this object. The object was discovered by a Foundation agent working undercover, probably in a medical facility. The staff member reported seeing a monster, one described as resembling the hallucinations of one of the local patients. The team that arrived on the scene conducted an investigation and caught SCP-372. The method used to capture the creature is classified. The object is classified as Euclid. It's called the Peripheral Jumper because of the way it moves and disguises itself. The creature is able to move extremely quickly and prefers to stay out of humans' field of vision. It can most often be seen as a sharp movement in the corner of your eye. SCP-372's anomalous features, including its structure, help it act in this way. The creature has a narrow and flexible body, a long tail, and 8 pairs of thin limbs. It's about 2 meters long from its head to the tip of its tail. For being so long, the creature doesn't weigh much, only 45 kilograms. The species was previously unknown to the organization's scientists. It's been established that its body has abnormal muscle fibers. They help SCP-372 to move incredibly precisely and quickly, and they also provide it with abnormal agility. The object's limbs are covered with fine hairs that allow it to attach to practically any surface. There's no data regarding research on the object, and even the muscle fiber's specific property remains classified. As for the ability to hold on to any surface, the mechanism is probably similar to that of terrestrial geckos. There are more than 14,000 bristles in 1 square millimeter of the surface of their feet. Each of these bristles is split into a multitude of microscopic fibers at the end, up to 1,000 of them. Their thickness doesn't exceed 0.2 microns. For comparison, the hair of a newborn baby reaches 20 to 40 microns in thickness. As a result, billions of these superfine processes penetrate the surface they come into contact with at a molecular level. The gecko's foot and the plane of attachment also exchange electrical charges. The first becomes positively charged and the second negatively, creating a magnetic effect. But let's get back to our SCP. The Peripheral Jumper is known to have a specialized sensory organ. It's capable of not only echolocation but also of detecting energy flows. SCP-372 is able to detect electrical impulses that occur in the brain of living creatures. It seems as though this organ helps to anticipate the movements made by any living beings nearby. This is the second feature that allows the creature to remain unnoticed. It tracks the brain signals sent to the eyes of someone who can see it and exploits the weaknesses of human vision. The easiest thing that SCP-372 can do is to run away out of sight. The object also makes extensive use of the blind spot. Maybe you've done an experiment to locate it in biology class at school. If not, you can try it now, it's pretty interesting. What you probably don't know about it is the saccades that SCP-372 is able to benefit from. These are rapid, simultaneous movements of both eyes. It happens, for example, when we read or look at something. You probably haven't even noticed that when you're observing something, you don't stare at one point, but you feel the object with your eyes. At that exact moment of a saccade, when the observers turn their heads toward the object, it manages to escape. When the eye movement is completed and the person can clearly see the place where the creature had just been, the object is no longer there. This process takes place in a fraction of a second, so SCP-372 is able to remain invisible to several potential observers at once. Nevertheless, experiments conducted by Foundation scientists prove that the object deliberately does not want to be seen. As part of the SCP-372 study, several experiments with D-Class employees were arranged. In one of them, 2 people were placed in an empty chamber measuring 5 by 6 meters. The first in the center and the second in the corner. They were ordered not to move and to examine the room. The anomalous object was led into the room and was left there for 5 minutes. During that time, only one employee noticed movements in his peripheral vision, several times in fact. In the same experiment under the same conditions, 2 people were placed in corners of the room diagonal to each other. Within 5 minutes, both employees were able to see the object 15 times. It turned out that each time, they noticed the creature simultaneously. Researchers suggested that SCP-372 moved to those areas of space that were in both observers' blind spots. At these moments, the object managed to successfully hide from their view. But when there was no safe place, the employees were able to see the anomaly. In the third experiment, scientists changed the initial data. They ordered 4 D-Class employees to place themselves in the 4 corners of the room. As soon as SCP-372 was released into the chamber, one of the experiment participants was severely injured. He fell to the floor, bleeding profusely. No one had witnessed the moment of injury, nor did they see the person who did it. The uninjured employees rushed to the exit, but it was blocked. One of the experiment participants started to beat on the door with his fists, and he was also injured unexpectedly. The report states that he lost some body part, but the details are classified. One of the remaining employees lay down on the floor, assuming the fetal position. The second remained standing motionless until the end of the experiment. At the end of the prescribed 5 minutes, the first of the injured employees died, and the second one needed surgery. The employees who survived reported that they never spotted the object. In the entire history of SCP-372's containment, this incident is indicated as the only one wherein the creature injured people. The second case involving direct harm to a person is when the peripheral jumper drove the man from the beginning of this video into the insane asylum. Given the lightning speed of the attack on the first D-Class employee, he didn't have time to provoke the attack. The experiment report suggests that the creature was simply hungry. At present, SCP-372 is contained in a chamber measuring 5 by 4 meters and only 2 meters high. The room's interior is finished with reinforced plexiglass. The room is also equipped with infrared motion sensors located in each corner. Food is delivered to the creature through a special opening that leads into the chamber. It's fed fresh vegetables and red meat once every 14 days. Video cameras that broadcast a live feed are installed on the helmets of the security guards working with the object. In the event of a containment breach, all site employees are required to observe and document any random movements in their peripheral vision. There's no data regarding any instances of SCP-372 escaping. In my opinion, the information in the object's file raises a lot of questions. First, some classified parts of the document seem irrelevant. For example, the D-Class employee's organ that was injured in the last experiment. I'd venture to guess that our friend who doesn't wish to be seen probably deprived him of an eye. It's unclear as to why SCP-372 isn't being monitored with high-speed cameras or at least mirrors. Rummaging through the Foundation's database, I found evidence of similar experiments that were conducted, but they didn't bring about any results. The creature immediately went berserk and started to rush at the equipment. This led not only to damage to the recording devices, but injuries to the object itself. The experiments were stopped so that the peripheral jumper wouldn't hurt itself. From this, we can conclude that the creature doesn't have any abnormal protective properties, and that it really doesn't want to be seen, or it can't be seen. But there's no such information in the object's official file. Instead of this important information, there's a note from a member of the O5 Council. He personally warns of a severe reprimand for any employee who uses SCP-372's properties to prank their colleagues. A comment like that could have been made by a leading scientist or a site director, but not a representative of the O5 Council. That and Foundation employees don't really seem like the stupid prankster type. This whole business of meaningless redactions and inconsequential interference by an O5 Council member looks very suspicious. I assume that the Foundation's hiding more important information related to SCP-372. Or am I just seeing conspiracy where there isn't one? What do you think? Write in the comments below if you think that the story of the peripheral jumper seems suspicious. I have a new investigation in the works. You'll find out about it soon. Subscribe to my channel so you won't miss all of the very best things from the world of SCP.